Welcome back to EBT Performance Pakenham, the home of Squids Speed Shop. Today we're in a different part of the shop because this is where I build the motors, and we're using a combination that I don't normally use. The owner of this bike has been putting together these parts for a little while, buying them here and there, and he came to me for some head work because everybody knows I use the best machine shop in Australia. Hands down, I'll argue till the end of time. These boys are the best. And that's Ram's Head Service up in Sydney. The boys are legends. They have looked after me for so many years. So that's why the bike's already torn down a little bit. I had to take the customers' heads off, send them off, get the work done, get them back. If you followed me on, you would have seen a short little teaser on what they look like. Man, I could not be happier. And based on the components the customers picked for this build, man, I think these heads are going to work a treat. So come along as I build a stage 4 that I don't normally build. This bike's also getting a couple of the extra niceties that I put in my own bike to help longevity and to give these pistons the best chance of success. We start off with the most important part, the CNC heads. These heads have 2mm over valves. It's had a CNC port job done by Rams. It's also had high-lift springs installed, but my favourite part, right there, the logo. Looks fantastic. They did a great job. There's a combustion chamber, KPMI valves used, intake port, looking fantastic, and the exhaust port. Just brilliant work. I could not recommend these guys higher. They've always looked after me. The next most important part of the puzzle being the big bore kit. And if you've watched the previous videos, you know you need a big bore kit. This one, we're running the 128 kit from APE. It's an 11:1 compression piston made by CP Carrillo, and the barrel's made by Daytona. This kit is one of the earlier kits by APE because of the CP Carrillo pistons. They're now made by Wiseco, and all of their pistons come coated. This one they did not deem necessary. Still a great product, still works really well. Because we don't have the high-tech coating on the skirt of the piston, we've got another upgrade in the motor to better lubricate and cool this surface. And that is the S&S piston jet. The most important difference with the S&S piston squirters are the two holes. Basically, it is firing oil at the gudgeon pin and firing oil at the thrust side of the skirt, which all adds up to better longevity, better cooling, and better lubrication. The camshaft that the customer has chosen to select for this build is a Cycle Rama 515. This is my favourite cam to put in a Screaming Eagle 131 Stage 4 kit. For this build, I deem this cam a little bit small. I would typically like to run a 585 by Star Racing or even one of the big comp cams. But the description of this cam tickled my customer, and so that's what he wanted to go with, and so that's what we're putting in. Now, to supply air to this cranky motor, we are running the Screaming Eagle 64mm throttle body and the 65mm CNC intake manifold. This is done in the black anodizing. It's brought in by APE. Now, this product is manufactured in America by V-Twin Powersport. They do an amazing job. I cannot rate these highly enough. This was the same manifold that I ran on my bike to make the 150 horsepower and 165 foot-pound with stock heads. So this thing is a beast. And like all of the builds here at the shop, this one's getting our primary upgrade consisting of a beautiful billet compensator and the Screaming Eagle clutch springs. That'll be enough clamping force to get the power to the ground with no loss. Have a look at my previous video to understand the importance of changing out the stock compensator for one of these billet compensators. We saw the aftermath of a completely stock bike being ridden too hard, and I can tell you now, the bill's expensive. So at this point, at the start, the bike's already torn down a little bit. I had to get the heads off to send them off to Rams. So I was going to make the teardown for you guys a little bit faster. I'll end up putting you on time-lapse. I'll try and point out anything cool that I think at the time. Let's get after it. Sorry guys, the camera ran out of battery for a second there. What you would have missed was me installing the tappet covers. And also I'll give you a look at the piston squirters in place. So there we have it. That's the S&S piston jets. Now these are quite stressful to install. There is a huge margin of error. The chance of dropping one of the small bolts into the engine case or dropping the gasket, it is a stressful time, and you have to be on your game, paying very careful attention and not make a mistake. This one went smoothly other than causing me to sweat. And theoretically, it's an easy task. It's 2 bolts. It's a new gasket. Just swap the component. The reality is, if you drop any one of those components into the crankcase, you're in for a world of hurt. You spend a long time fishing with a magnet. Or if you drop the gasket, man, you just got to hope you can pick it back out again. There has been times I've seen boys have to pull the engine out and split the cases in order to retrieve a lost bolt. And man, you don't want that to be you. So after a lot of sweating, managed to get these ones swapped out. No dramas. We can move on with installing the APE 128 kit. We'll be running 11:1 static compression. I've already had the piston to cylinder clearance sorted. I've set up my ring end gaps the way that I want, and the piston to ring clearances are all where they should be because they were made by CB Carrillo and they get that shit right. In the parts clip I didn't mention, it's also getting upgraded lifters. They are the APE high capacity lifter. I don't mind which brand you want to use. Just if you've got wear and tear on your lifters, just put new lifters in it. You'll be better off. We also replaced the inner cam bearing to a high capacity one. That's just a go-to. It has to be done. The customer also supplied one of the stock replacement oil pumps that is the latest updated oil pump, which is fine for just about every application I can think of. So I'm going to carry on offering up the parts. We'll get it into the bike. We'll get this thing running. Let's see how much power it can make. I definitely think it could make more with a different cam choice. And I'm intrigued to see how this combo turns out on my dyno. The way in which I put together a combination is a little bit different. The school of thoughts, the reasonings and justifications for the selection of the parts are a little bit different to what I would normally do. I really like the biggest bore possible. I like to get the sidewall for the cylinder as far away from the intake valve as possible to remove any sort of turbulence. I like to run a cam that has the most duration where the head flow is optimized. That being said, all of these components work well. It's just there's little 2%, 3% gains you can add up by picking components. But these components should still work well. There's a lot of boys running this sort of combination. So let's see what it does on my dyno. Alrighty guys, costume change. New babies, they're here. They're here. Couldn't wait any longer. So, I'm on the dyno with the beast. We have my CNC ported heads that are done for me by Rams. Got an APE 128 kit in it. Got a big throttle body. So it's time to start tuning it. Put in the comments how much power do you think this is going to make. I don't think it's going to make as much as my famous TKO kit, but you never know. You never know. I'm always excited to see new combinations, and so I've never put my heads on an APE kit. So let's see what it does. So we're finally done tuning this APE Squids Speed Shop sort of collaboration of parts, and I'm pretty happy with the result. This is more power than I usually see with these APE components and headwork. So my heads are doing the trick. And when I say my heads, it's the boys at Rams. They just knocked it out of the park, as they always do for me. It's a great product. So have a look at the dyno graph. You can see here we're at 152 peak horsepower and 152 foot-pounds of torque. For me here, the limitation is the Rama 515 cam. Too small. It needs more lift. It needs more duration above 500 lift. That's the biggest issue. Every time you get a set of heads worked, you've got to use the upper end of that head. That's when they're most efficient. So there's definitely some power left on the table with that cam choice. But as far as the APE 128 kit and that cam, these heads have made it perform really well. So if the customer had to come to me from the start with what I would put in it, no, I wouldn't pick a lot of these components for this sort of outcome. I typically prefer something that cruises better while still making bulk power. But off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure that these are quite budget-friendly components. But the major takeaway here is, if you're thinking about getting your heads done, man, Rams knock it out every time. For me, they've been doing my headwork for years. I've never had a problem. And it always does what it says on the tin. And yeah, for this combination, yeah, I would have liked a little bit bigger bore. I would have liked a little bit bigger cam. Sometimes you got to build with the components the customer wants. That's how it is. That's how I get all of these different combinations. And I like doing different combinations rather than the same thing I always do. Sometimes you find an extra little secret in there, and you add it to your repertoire. And any motor, when you build it, that makes 150 horsepower and 150 foot-pound, like anything that makes north of that, man, is a stout package. And with that 240 rear tyre, the thing's just going to hook up. He's going to leave everybody for dead at the lights. There's no doubt about it. So if you want more than 150 horsepower, come see me. Give me a call. We'll come up with a package that suits you. But what we really want to know is, what would these set of heads do on my bike, where I'm already making 150 horsepower and 165 foot-pound? You can go check out one of my early videos on that. The most power I've ever made with stock heads. So what we need to do is I've got to get into me pockets and get a set of these CNC ported heads, run it on mine, and see how much we can get for bolt-on components without doing the bottom end, without having to machine it out. I reckon that'd be quite a thing. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, do you want to see me put some new cylinder heads on my bike? The t-shirts are available now. I've got them in the shop. I'm wearing the beanie right now. They're here. I haven't worked out selling them off the website, but if you want to come in and buy one, you most certainly can. Thanks for watching, guys. I do really appreciate it. Until next week, hooroo.